2020 was an unexpected one in film for obvious reasons, but that's not to say some great movies didn't come out that year. And honestly, some great ones flew way too low on the radar with everything else going on, but nonetheless deserve recognition. With that in mind, I'm Will for What Culture, and here are 10 surprisingly awesome 2020 movies you probably missed. 10. Becky. For many, the prospect of Kevin James playing a murderous neo-Nazi was just too ridiculous to take seriously, and so Becky basically came and went without a peep this past summer. However, this nasty action thriller about the titular young girl fighting back against James's villainous Dominic and his army of ex-cons proved an uncommonly gut-wrenching spin on a familiar setup. If you can accept a few storytelling cliches, it delivers the grisly, unsettling goods from start to finish, with sharp cinematography and a cracking musical score to boot, all inside of a tight 100 minutes, no less. 9. The Outpost. One look at the key art for The Outpost suggests that it's just another of the many forgettable military action flicks. However, what could have so easily been a hacky, exploitative slice of action schlock is so much more than that. The Outpost dramatizes Afghanistan's Battle of Kamdesh, where in 2009 an American army outpost was attacked by 300 Taliban soldiers. And all things considered, it's a compassionate and deeply human look at the American soldiers trapped at the center of that conflict. The entire ensemble cast is terrific here, while the coverage of the battle itself is beautifully stylish without losing sight of its unflinching brutality. 8. Spree. As much as social media satires are so often clumsy and outdated, this savagely entertaining black comedy has its finger on the pulse like few other recent entries in the genre. Joe Keery stars as Kurt Kunkel, a rideshare driver obsessed with social media superstardom, whose desperation to go viral sees him becoming increasingly dangerous, unhinged, and even murderous. Sickly directed with an appropriately in-your-face style, Spree is a rare film that succeeds at being down with the kids, while also making gnarly fun of contemporary young adult culture. 7. Love and Monsters. Love and Monsters is a charming genre bender of a film that melds rom-com with monster movie with uncommonly entertaining results. Dylan O'Brien stars as Joel Dawson, a young man desperately attempting to navigate the post-apocalyptic, monster-populated surface of Earth to reunite with his estranged girlfriend, Amy. There's a lot to be said for a film that knows its limitations and delivers the goods, and Love and Monsters is absolutely that. Thanks to O'Brien's likeable lead, a wealth of witty dialogue, and some modestly staged action sequences, it's a film that gets to be many things at once, even romantic too. 6. Spontaneous. Filmed in early 2018 and left to fester on the studio shelf for almost 3 years, Spontaneous was finally released this past October. Yet despite being one of the year's best reviewed films, its release was largely buried by Paramount. Spontaneous follows high schoolers Mara and Dylan, who are caught in the middle of a mysterious series of events, where their fellow students begin randomly exploding like blood-filled balloons. Despite the potential silliness of the setup, Spontaneous is a shockingly nuanced, character-driven film about two people finding love amid the most trying of circumstances. Released in the middle of a pandemic as it was, many have interpreted the film as an unintentional metaphor for current events. But whatever you assert the phenomenon to be, the result is at once anxiously tense, hilarious, and sweetly romantic. 5. Vampires vs. the Bronx. Now, you couldn't really be blamed for glancing at a Netflix original called Vampires vs. the Bronx and quickly scrolling onward, but this willfully absurd horror comedy is actually a whole lot of fun, bringing a totally unique flavor to the table. Perhaps best thought of as the stateside cousin of Attack the Block, the film focuses on a trio of teenagers living in the Bronx who find themselves fighting to save their neighborhood when a clan of vampires move in. Unafraid to embrace its own silliness, Vampires vs. the Bronx also invests plenty in its central characters, and ingeniously lets vampires serve as a metaphor for the perils of gentrification. It's a modest work from Saturday Night Live director Oz Rodriguez, but has a healthy dose of both smarts and heart to keep its 86-minute runtime chugging along. 4. Mortal. Mortal is absolutely a movie that's best watched with as little knowledge as possible of its plot. Know simply that it's a revisionist superhero movie in which a young man, Eric, discovers he has godlike superpowers. Between skillful direction and a tight script, Mortal takes full advantage of its gorgeous Norwegian setting and a solid cast to tell an enticingly unconventional tale in a widely overstuffed genre. For anyone tired of the well-worn tropes in Hollywood superhero flicks, Mortal offers up just enough variation. Invested more in its characters than in splashy, effects-driven set pieces, though its brief moments of CGI spectacle certainly hit the mark too. 3. The Platform. Netflix's Spanish thriller The Platform boasts a premise that could so easily have resulted in a laughable, heavy-handed mess of a film, and though The Platform is anything but subtle, it sure is a lot of fun. Though for many it obviously got lost in the streaming shuffle, in large part because Netflix does a horrible job at promoting their films, The Platform takes place in a tower-like prison where inmates reside on one of many floors. There, they wait to be fed by a platform, which travels from the top of the facility to the bottom, leaving those on the lower levels to feast on the dregs left for them by those above. Now, its commentary on class warfare has no time for subtlety, but it makes good on the deliciousness of the setup thanks to both the stellar ensemble cast and some gorgeous production design despite the evidently low budget. 2. Greenland. With marketing that leaned very heavily into its schlockiest elements, and the generally shaky rep of Gerard Butler-led blockbusters, there wasn't much reason to expect anything from Greenland but an unintentional comedy and brain-dead action. Yet, as it turns out, this apocalyptic thriller in which Butler's protagonist John Garrity attempts to shepherd his family to safety before a comet impacts the Earth places far more of a focus on its characters than its planet's ravaging action. While there are numerous scenes of citywide destruction throughout, the script is far more interested in the basic survival of the Garrity family, and this makes for far more relatable and involving viewing than it otherwise would be. Now, who saw that coming? 1. The Vast of Night. Despite being released on Amazon Prime last summer and receiving near-universal critical acclaim, you'd barely know The Vast of Night exists, considering how little it's being talked about. A gorgeously crafted, lo-fi, sci-fi mystery film from debuting director Andrew Patterson, The Vast of Night takes place in 1950s New Mexico, where two youngsters, Faye Crocker and Everett Sloan, encounter a mysterious radio signal, which just might be of alien origin. With the spirit of a radio play, Patterson proves that high-concept sci-fi can be executed without the help of a well-minted VFX department, largely employing just a handful of actors and some slickly dynamic camera work. Brilliantly ambiguous for the most part, The Vast of Night offers up a thoughtful, unconventional spin on typical alien invasion tropes, and should therefore satisfy open-minded viewers prepared to follow Patterson's slight, low-key lead. And there you have it, folks, 10 surprisingly awesome 2020 movies you probably missed. Feel free to drop this video a like if you enjoyed it, and drop me a follow on Twitter at YouSlyDogU. I'm Will for What Culture, thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.